I think people, first and foremost, they talk to people that they know and trust themselves. So they talk to family members and coworkers, and they say, have you been working with somebody, and what's your experience been like? And of course, if there's a lot of people all pointed to the same dentist, the same mechanic, the same advisor, that's where a lot of solace comes in. I think that helps. People like firsthand experience.
Sure. I think we see, in fact, a lot of people, the majority of people that walk in the doors here were referred by somebody that's already a client. And that's great. I mean, if you know and trust, your sister or your brother or something saying like, you got to work with Arcadia, they're top notch. I've been a client there for X amount of years and they do this, like go in and check them out yourselves. That reference, the referral is going to go a long way. But what if you're in Omaha, you have no family out there, and you find somebody like Acme Financial? What's some ways that people could check to see if this is a legitimate firm? Welcome back to another episode of Saturday State of Mind. I'm joined here by Mike Panico, my partner in crime.
Here I am.
Partner in life. Mike, who do you trust?
You.
Thank you. That took a minute there. I trust you as well. But in a professional sense, who do you trust? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. Retirement's pretty serious. I know we try to have a good time around here, but it's something we also take very serious, retirement planning. And how many times have we seen folks come in through our door that have worked with maybe not the best professional in the past?
Half the time, easy.
That's crazy. What, aren't there regulations out there?
Sure. But in any walk of life, when you look at any body of, say, professionals, some are really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. Some are really lousy at it. Most are just going to be mediocre. So finding the best of the best in any walk of life, the best dentist, the best, auto mechanic, the best financial advisor, you don't usually get it right oftentimes, either with the first interview or the first person that you've worked with. Kind of like with relationships. I mean, how many people marry the first person they took on a date?
Well, back in the day, probably a lot more.
Yeah, no doubt it happens. But sometimes you got to, test out a couple things, go on a couple dates. You start to kind of figure out where you have simpatico. And I think that's kind of the important part. Let's face it, and I mean this is no insult. Generally, when you go to get a service from somebody, it's because they're good at it and you're not, right?
Sure.
Like a joke I make all the time is nobody does their own dentistry. Now, maybe that's just because of the odd angles and whatnot, but very few people.
Hey, I do my part by trying to floss and keep up with it.
Some days better than others, Jess, for sure. But I get what you're saying. So the point, though, is you try to go to the expert who can do things better than you can. Right?
I bring my car to a mechanic, and I guess say, well, I like my car. It's not nearly as important as my retirement planning.
Yeah, but this is driving to a point I'm trying to make, which is that because of your lack of expertise in any individual thing, let's take, for instance, the auto mechanic. I'm not an auto mechanic. I really don't know if the mechanic I've brought my car to is any good or not.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just fundamentally trusting that he is.
So, well, that's a big part of it. If he's like, oh man, you got to, fill your blinker fluid here,
Blinker fluid, yeah.
I might be like,
that's probably a bad mechanic.
Oh God, I've never filled my blinker fluid. And what if I trusted him? And he's like, oh, you haven't filled your blinker fluid? Oh man, that's going to cost about $5,000 to fix what's going on here.
Good thing he came in here today.
Yeah, exactly. So it might not be when I said hey, isn't there regulations? It might not be that there's another financial professional doing something illegal out there. Maybe they're just not giving very good advice.
Right. So it comes down to who do you know that you can trust?
Sure.
Because again, if you move to a new town, and that means you need to find a new dentist and a new auto mechanic and a new everything else, how do you know who you should do business with if you are, as an individual, not an expert in dentistry and auto mechanicry and all this? How do you find those people, or how do you find comfort with hiring those people, separating yourself from your own money and letting them do the work?
Sure. Well, I first would probably turn to this invention by my good friend Al Gore called the internet.
No doubt.
And I would look up dentist near me, mechanic, financial advisor, and I'd probably first look to see about Google reviews and see what's out there. And if I found, a place that I thought had pretty decent Google reviews, do I just go in? Do I just blindly trust that? Because I heard that, people can buy like Facebook likes and other things like that too. So how do you know?
There's a lot of fake stuff online.
So much fake stuff online. So how do you know if that person that you found is legitimate or not?
You don't. I mean, number one, I think people, first and foremost, they talk to people that they know and trust themselves. So they talk to family members and coworkers, and they say, have you been working with somebody, and what's your experience been like? And of course, if there's a lot of people all pointed to the same dentist, the same mechanic, the same advisor, that's where a lot of solace comes in. I think that helps. People like firsthand experience.
Sure. I think we see, in fact, a lot of people, the majority of people that walk in the doors here were referred by somebody that's already a client. And that's great. I mean, if you know and trust, your sister or your brother or something saying like, you got to work with Arcadia, like they're top notch. I've been a client there for X amount of years and they do this, like go in and check them out yourselves. Then that reference, the referral is going to go a long way.
Sure.
But what if you're, in Omaha, you have no family out there and, you find somebody like Acme Financial. What's some ways that people could check to see if this is a legitimate firm?
Man, so this is not a catch-all list, and a lot of it, I think, is obviously very subjective, and whether it's going to help you have success when you're vetting somebody out on an individual basis in the middle of a cornfield like Nebraska. I'm not going to say this is an exhaustive way of discerning who's good or who isn't, but I was kind of always raised a little bit to trust your gut. And I feel that there are ways for you to engage with somebody to hear their response to a series of different things and then kind of let your gut tell you if directionally they're kind of saying some of the right stuff.
So it's like an interview process, kind of.
So one of those things being, I find that when you're in a financial advisory setting, the easier somebody explains stuff, the better off you probably are. So if somebody's trying to describe something to you and you can't understand a word of it, it's just going strictly over your head, right? I think a lot of times people think to themselves, well, gosh, I don't understand what this person's talking about, but they clearly understand what they're talking about.
Diversification, alpha. They're so smart.
They must be really smart. I must be so dumb. I should trust this person because they're smarter than me.
And I don't want to ask a question. I might seem like a dummy and I don't want to.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And I just feel if somebody's really good at what they do, they should be also really good at explaining it at an elementary level. So just about anybody can access the information.
I think somebody pretty famous, I'm going Tom Edison, I generally never get these right, says...
Swing for the fences, Jess, go.
One day I'll get one of these right. Yeah. We'll just have a big false at the bottom
part of your charm.
This, right? Is that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So...
I've heard that. I don't know if it was Edison, but...
You want to wager a guess who that was?
No.
Okay, all right. So that's definitely part of it, right? You got to get in there. You got to interview people. What about designations? All the alphabet soup, like, CFP, like obviously is the big one.
Dozens and dozens of designations. And listen, I'm not in a position to say which ones are any good or not. I happen to be a CFP. Reason being is that in this industry, it's probably the one that's asked about most by consumers. Hey, do you have your CFP? Which clearly shows that it's respected in the community and it's something that people are advised to ask about. I think part of the reason for that is it's somewhat difficult to get your CFP. I'm not entirely clear on this, but I do believe back in my time when I was taking that exam that half of all people that go for it do not get the designation. Part of the reason for that is it demands a lot for you to know. There's 7 different financial planning disciplines that they want you to have command over, everything from tax to investment theory and everything in between. So you got to know a lot. You got to demonstrate that you know it. You got to demonstrate that in a setting where you're asked a lot of questions. Some of it is case study. It's challenging. So I think that not only is it respected, but it is a hard designation to get. But absent that, oftentimes, like, there are programs out there, I'm sure people are aware of this, where you basically just part ways with the fee. You maybe scribble your signature on a couple things, and now you have some new letters that you can put behind your name. So some designations hold a lot of weight, and some are quite literally puffery.
Okay. Some people I think have come in here, not a lot, but they talk about BrokerCheck. And BrokerCheck is another tool that people can go on to see, like, what have people been up to? Any like Ponzi schemes, what's on their record, so to say, right?
Yeah. So that's actually a very valuable tool in that in most industries, if you really screw up, you're a bad auto mechanic, you change your name, you leave town, you go set up shop in a new town, you can probably get away with being a lousy mechanic in a new time and place, right? The problem in our industry, it's not a problem for us if you're doing the right thing, but if you're going to be a bad actor, your permanent record, so to speak, remember?
It went down on your permanent record.
Yeah. I remember like every time I got a C on a test or something in high school, my parents were like, it's going to be on your permanent record. Our industry kind of has that.
Yeah.
So if you're ever sued, if you're ever censured, if you're ever complained about to the point where it reaches the attention of a regulator or a state actor, there is a permanent record, so to speak, and you can view that for anybody in the financial advisory space. So FINRA keeps records on this, the Securities and Exchange Commission, BrokerCheck, the website that you're mentioning, we probably even link to it in this video, is a great resource where you can go to check out whether or not you're working with a good or a bad actor.
Sure. And there's other things that are on there too. If someone's once complained about you, or like if you were delinquent on like one child payment or something like that too, so you really get a read to see what's on there, what happened with these individuals, if they have any disclosures.
And it shows experience too. So if you've just been in the industry 20, 30 years with maybe 1, 2, or 3 companies, generally I would take that as a good sign. But sometimes you look at people's experience and they're at a different bank or financial institution every other year. So they're just always moving from place to place. I'd be a little bit unsettled working with somebody who can't seem to find a permanent home. What's going to happen to me and my money when they leave and find another pasture. So it is an excellent resource if you use that in addition to kind of just using your gut, as I'd mentioned before.
So I think you just got to do your homework. We'll see you next time. If you liked this video and it helped you, watch another one. And don't forget to hit subscribe.